Got a couple of quick thoughts on knots. I like knots, and I think it's interesting to learn about all of them. There's a right one for pretty much every job, and there's not very many wrong ones, but there's definitely ones that work better for the job and ones that have more likelihood of getting the job done without somebody getting hurt. One of my favorite inline loop knots, which is this one, is I call it the Alpine butterfly. And before I knew this one, I always tied the figure 8. And the reason being that a figure 8 knot is way easier to take out than an overhand loop. All you got to do is bend back one of these and pull out. I don't have much for fingernails, so it's probably even easier than that. But with the overhand knot, you well, try getting that thing out of there. I'm not getting it because it'll take too long, but they're just a pain. The Alpine butterfly is works really good for hanging tools off of maybe a belt, or I think in the expeditions and whatnot, they use it to clip everybody into the same line, I believe is why they call it the Alpine butterfly. But this one's also really easy to take out. All you have to do is bend back these little wings, and then that loosens the knot enough to where you can pull the middle out. And the importance of these, rather than a bowline, which is also an awesome knot, is they're a lot easier to tie in the middle of the line. It is possible to tie a bowline in the middle of the rope like this, but it doesn't look as slick, and I think there's just a better knot for the job, and I think that's the Alpine butterfly or the figure 8 knot. Now, how you tie an inline Alpine butterfly. You don't need the ends, that's why it's an inline knot. But you take either around your whole hand or around 2 fingers, since I'm using paracord. You make one wrap to the back, and then 2 more. Well, there's 1, 2, 3. So you have kind of 3 across, and this one's sticking out this way, and this one's sticking out this way. And then you take this end piece of cord or rope, and you move it around, and then that pocket where your fingers were, it comes up through there. So then when you cinch down on that, cinch down on each side, you've got a pretty good loop. And the more weight tension you put on the outside of the loop, the tighter it gets. But then, like I said before, it's so slick to get off of there. I mean, that thing is on there. I can't make it on there any tighter than it is. But anyhow, to get it off, you flip these little wings back and pull the middle of them out right up to the top. So the loop's down here, and just pull on right here, and the knot's out again. And a figure 8 loop in the middle of your line, or even an overhand loop in the middle of your line, is easy to do too. You just make your loop just like you're tying an overhand knot, except rather than coming down like you would for an overhand knot, you make one more twist and you go in the back side, pull it up, and it's definitely not as pretty as the Alpine butterfly, but it's solid. It'll do the trick. And like I said, I used it forever until I learned the Alpine butterfly. The Bowline is a lot better loop for the end of the rope. And just the same as you could potentially tie an Alpine butterfly near the end, and you can potentially tie a bowline in the middle of the rope, it's a lot easier to tie it on the end of the rope. And here just recently, I learned a very quick way to tie a bowline rather than the rabbit comes out of the hole and goes around the tree and goes back in the hole again. All you have to do for this one is tie a slip knot, and I found that you need to put, your slip needs to be on the tail end side, not the working end. So you pull up through from this side, from the tail end, you pull up so that you have your little slip knot on there, and it would slip. But then you go around whatever material it is that you want to go around and slip this back in there. And then when you pull it down tight, it flips up into a bowline. And the reason I like this knot so much, again, is because it's so darn easy to get out. This edge right here, let's see, this piece of string right here that comes up and around, you just kind of flip that backwards, and it loosens the whole entire knot, and then you can take it apart again. Bowline is an awesome knot to know. You can use it for everything, and there's no point in tying an overhand loop ever. I guess if you're using webbing, it works good for webbing. There's probably a better knot than that, but I don't ever work with webbing, so. Bowlines are good for the end of the rope, and Alpine butterfly is great in the middle. Figure 8 knot, I guess you could it's sort of multi-purpose. You could use it in the middle of the rope or at the end of the rope, or, I mean, wherever you want. It's stupid simple to tie in the end of the rope too. Just don't have all that other cord to deal with. And then when you get her done, tie it on there. Here's why we call it a figure 8. See, that makes a figure 8 when you pull that tight, and there's one on the end of the line. But anyhow, a couple of knots to think over. Good ones to use.